This is quite interesting because sometimes clients ask for feedback. They said, how about ourselves? How the team is perceiving our activity? And this is start a nice conversation.
This podcast is brought to you by HeyTaco, the only peer-to-peer recognition platform that uses tacos to help teams around the world share gratitude. I'm Doug.
I'm Una.
This is our podcast, Amazing Teams. Francesco Vetica, welcome to the Amazing Teams podcast.
Thanks. Hello.
Francesco, we're so excited to have you. And it was Doug's pronunciation of your name. I thought it was great. Just so you know, Doug.
Oh, it's close, right?
It's perfect.
It was pretty good.
Better than Italian.
Very Italian. Francesco, for people listening, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and doing a quick intro?
Yeah. Thanks for, inviting me here. It's a pleasure. I'm Francesco Vetica, head of design and one of the partners of Fifthbit. Maybe we're going to talk about a little bit of Fifthbit later. I'm also the head of employee experience now, so managing the entire employee experience in the company. I have a background in design, maybe like you, Doug. Moving through a couple of cities in Italy, I was spending some time in London, and now back into the sunny Italy.
That's awesome. Francesco, can you tell our listeners a little bit about Fifthbit?
Yeah, of course. Fifthbit is actually an organization that grows in the last 10 years. Actually, this year in September, we're going to have a nice big party, 10 years, a long time. We grow organically in the last 10 years. We actually deliver user experience design, consultancy, like product design. And into these 10 years, we joined into a really interesting path last year with a bit private equity that enable us to financially grow and acquire a couple of interesting reality organizations. So we grow in terms of services. We join, another company joined us called Magilla, all the marketing, strategy, digital SEO and stuff like that. And then into even logistics and Amazon as a digital touch point to selling to our client products. So yeah, we're actually 360-degree design, consultancy, innovation organization. Is actually in a nutshell. We are still small. We are almost 100 people now.
Are your teammates all in Italy, or are they all over Europe and the world?
We work as a remote organization. We have a couple of offices in Italy, Rome, Milan, Brescia, and Bologna. But we let people work wherever they want. Just when clients need to have designers on the table to run workshop or to run, pre-sales or, meetings. But we mostly have people in Italy, but we have someone in Spain, someone in Berlin, Germany. Yeah, but most of the people are around Europe. Sometimes someone like to travel a lot, like digital nomad kind of approach.
Mm-hmm. This is a very tactical question, but I'm always curious. Mm-hmm. Do you all work in English or do you work in Italian and then switch to English when you speak to the people who are in Germany?
Most of the people in Fifthbit are Italian speakers. Sometimes we do have people that are not Italian fluent, like native speaker. So on this kind of project, we just speak in English straight away. Even if there would be just one guy and 10 were Italian, we'd never talk in Italian, just to be 100% inclusive with the teammates.
That's really interesting. Now, I know we're going to get into the topic of feedback here shortly. Una mentioned before we started recording that you have an interesting take on feedback, but I'm a little interested in your background. I was looking at your LinkedIn page and I see that you studied design and then you studied business. And that's really interesting to me, being a designer myself. What was that like, making that jump from the focus on design to the focus on business?
Interesting. Thanks for the question. So I studied industrial design. And industrial design, back in the days, inside we had multimedia and interaction design. So I had the chance of studying all the user experience part, all the interaction between touchpoint, digital touchpoint. And I work a lot into the visual and interaction user experience side, even in London, like consultancy. Then throughout the years, I always had, not struggle, but I always been interested into understanding more about the business side, more into the strategy. As soon as you sit on the table with, I don't know, CEO, like people, CXO, CIO, so people that are running companies and they have a certain dictionary, certain kind of, wording that they use, you do need to connect with them, right? So you do need to be linked with them. So I said to me, okay, let's start understanding which will be a nice path to grow and to learn business. So I ended up into joining an executive master in business administration here in Italy, which allows me to speak with different dictionary, really. So on the business side, into financial part, even if I don't have a financial part, and it's not the most, interesting things in the world, still enable me to run smoothly, even the budget, right, into like consultancy. So I actually change and switch my mind when I sit on the table. I can really move into different kind of a conversation with different stakeholder. It's quite interesting, really. I find it really useful. I still didn't finish, so I'm into the last 6 months, 4 months now of my path. So it's been 2 interesting years. It's long. It's quite long. And I
on top of your full-time job.
Yes. Yeah. But I met really, really interesting people. So building a network of managers, C-level people.
So you're wearing the design hat.
Yeah.
You can switch to the business hat. How did you decide to put on the employee experience hat?
Interesting. That's because, every single organization grow a lot. And because we are into this transformation. So we're acquiring, we're expanding, we try to be more horizontal into the consultancy part. We actually decided to centralize the staff activity. So I've always been interested into how people are perceiving their culture into an organization, how to let people grow and find their perfect spot into a project or even into their career path. So I said, okay, I can take on this role, even if it is not full-time, because I have a pre-sale and strategy part and, running delivery. Still, I really wanted to be the one that centralized the training, the career path, the growth. I've been into this role in the past 4-5 months, more or less, maybe less. But it's been interesting. I had quite interesting challenge maybe to talk about while we are now chatting and some interesting things that came to my mind.
Yes, please tell us.
Yeah. Like all the things that is not always talking with people, right? That would be the easy part, but it's always managing the hiring or, the amount of CV that you receive every single day, or to understand if someone is more fit into a specific project or into another, or dealing with the legal and compliance or security stuff that are not fascinating, but you do need to have it in order to run a company like smoothly.
It's a big job, right? The employee experience starts kind of like the user experience before they're even a customer of yours, right? As soon as they hear about Fitbeat, as soon as they send a resume, the journey starts there for sure.
Of course, your awareness is always based with what people said about yourself as an organization. So the word of mouth is the thing that keeps you alive. So if you treat well employees, they were gonna talk well about yourself. And even if they join other companies, they can start talking about the organization and maybe hire you as or even consultancy, or on the opposite, like pushing you like talents. So it's always a boomerang, right? If you're not treating well your employee, it's gonna be back on your back.
Doug, I think we always think about that with our even HeyTaco users, right? It kind of goes in a similar way with us. Is the more people have fun with HeyTaco when they switch jobs or go places, people will tell their partners about HeyTaco, their kids about HeyTaco. That has happened many times, right? But that experience of the N of one is so important in everything you do.
Yeah, very true. I am sitting here looking at Francesco, and I actually think Francesco is winning the hair game right now. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I care a lot about my hair. It's been like 4 years. Really, after COVID, I said, okay, let's be back. Like 15 years ago, I was like that. I said, okay, let's try. Maybe it will be the last years, but let's see. I don't know.
I love it. I came into the office yesterday without wearing a hat, and I don't think anybody recognized me at first.
The hat is your character, right?
Yeah.
We didn't. Francesco, before we get into feedback, what do you think takes to build an amazing team in 140 characters or less?
Okay, one thing to ensuring that people are into a team, right? A team means people are driving towards the same objective, right? Same North Star. Is actually ensuring that people have the right space to contribute and to really be motivated by team members, teammates, by the manager, and during this transformation that they have, really be motivated about what the things that maybe they don't know. So I think to build a great team is to let people fail into specific spaces and let people like grow into a community, right? Into a culture. As we know, we always working towards, clients, business. But if you find the sweet spot in which people can grow while delivering value and impact, I think this will generate the best and cohesive like team. This is like really summarization of my understanding of how to build an amazing team. If it makes sense.
It does make sense. That's a good summary. And it sounds like to people fail, then you have to teach them what happened, how could they do better. How do you go about doing that at Fifth Beat? How do you and I in the prep call talked a lot about your culture of feedback, and you do a billion different things. Can you share more about how does that actually work, and how do you make feedback not a personal thing, but just something that's part of your culture?
Yeah, it would be interesting maybe to delve down into some spaces into the feedback part. Of course, feedback start as a designer, right? You have to give feedback to a piece of things, right? If you're presenting something to maybe your manager, maybe your peers, or even to a client on your opposite side, you do need to understand how to give feedback about something. And even when you give feedback to a specific output, you do need to be impersonal to take out person from the feedback part. And this is just into the internal conversation, right? Into a piece of design, into the process, into an output. And I think everything starts from here. If you know how to give a specific feedback about a piece of output, you can then do a step back and understand, okay, how can I give feedback to maybe, I don't know, someone that is running maybe a workshop, or someone that maybe is running a client conversation. So it's not just about an output, it's about maybe a kind of activity that you do. So we always try to push people to give clear feedback, transparent feedback, without hurting the others. I think the reasoning to focusing on feedback a lot is to having people engage, and they know that they can speak freely. It's hard. We are not making 100% perfect. And I think you will never have a perfection, because your organization will grow, and even the balancing into the organization will change. And I think in order to fostering the culture of feedback is enabling the top-down, bottom-up, peer-to-peer kind of feedback. So, for example, we want to push people to give feedback to the manager, or maybe to the one that are more seniors. This is not simple, right? So to give a clear feedback to someone that maybe have more experience, maybe that is your manager, is not easy. But if you know how to do it, it will generate tons of value. Or for example, from top down. So we really pushing managers, or maybe senior people, or even junior, to give feedback to the one that have less seniority. So, for example, we run, those are a couple of examples really. After every single meeting, we let the team take some notes, right? Which is not really every single thing that you said during the meeting, but the most important things. After the meeting, the most senior person in the room can say, okay, let's talk about the most important things on your notes. If it's not there, it's not in the conversation. So we just let people focus on just important things. And after the round, the most senior one can give feedback about maybe an activity, or maybe you want something that you said that is not in line with the conversation. So every single meeting, we try to spend 5 minutes. It's really a small activity to give informed feedback because it's contextual. So contextual is the first things that you do need to take in consideration. So in the context, not about someone else. So it's not a personal one, and needs to be actionable. So feedback always needs to be actionable, right? So why I say this to you, this is the action point. Maybe I will do maybe differently if I was you, and always try to have an open conversation into this actionable controlling. So those are maybe one of the things that we do into our day by day. This is one example, really. We have multiple initiatives that we run, and we even ask feedback from client. So every, maybe it was like every 3 months, we ask a round of feedback from client side. So we ask every single client feedback about the team to improve, to let the team even listen to what client said. We report like quantitative and qualitative information to how people can grow. So feedback from client is harsh because you heard about what a client maybe can feel about your work, your activity. And this is always to be putting in place about your career, right? So feedback can foster really your career development. Those are, a couple of bits and pieces about why we care a lot about feedback. Then maybe we can deep dive a little bit more about specific things, if you like.
Francesco, I'm curious about your feedback with clients.
Yeah.
We all know that if we all just say to each other, hey, do you have some feedback? The other person's going to say, well, not really, right? It doesn't open up a conversation. What is a question or two that you ask clients every quarter that really unlock them and help them share things that you can actually act on?
Interesting. So as soon as we jump into the client feedback, the team is not there. So it's a dedicated space in which client can speak freely. We dedicate this person into the organization, which is the person that is running the operation. So we always ask in the beginning if the activity is as meeting their expectation. So the overall team expectation. And we start to giving some quantitative points. And then we open up to activity. So if we run activity that are meeting expectation, if we drive value, it's really an activity of research. So they are not, closed question. They are really open up, like a conversation. Like we actually want them there to talk about story, right? So after that, we talk about specific people. So we said, okay, what about this designer? What do you think about them? They are meeting expectation. Maybe they are above. I didn't really know that is quite nice into this thing. So we try to ask specific story about the relationship. So we put together a card in which we're going to put everything inside. And then we go back to the team. Said, okay, this is the client feedback is not personal. If there would be something harsh or really below the expectation, we are going to take the person on the side. We are not going to sharing with the entire team because it would be more personal, right? So we are going to just share the entire overview. And this is quite interesting because sometimes clients ask for feedback. They said, how about ourselves? How the team is perceiving our activity? And this is start a nice conversation. Because after this feedback circle, we improve a lot. This happens every single 3-4 months. Imagine that we always run retrospective. So this is on the team side. So team every couple of sprints can run retrospective about specific activity. And into the retrospective, they extract feedback. But even that, there are feedback that are quite biased because the team is talking with the client. That's why we want to put the client into a safe space. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's clear or if you're more.
Yeah, it's very clear.
Yeah,
I feel like it's so interesting that once you start asking them for feedback, now you've opened up a door where they ask you back for. It kind of unlocks the relationship in a very different way than just transactional. We're creating work for you and you're paying us for it. Right now, they want to know how they're doing, and how the relationship can actually progress and go forward.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And most of the clients ask for feedback on the other side, and they change. They know that maybe they do need to speed up things, or maybe they do need to understand that they do need to open up a specific activity or talk in and unlock specific stakeholder, because they work into organizations that are complex, they are huge, maybe. Mm-hmm. So they have a certain amount of activity and policies to follow. The more you give feedback to them, the more you be open and transparent. And even to really underline the fact that the more they change or maybe they modify their activity, the more value you bring to the table, right? For the business. So it's always a back and forth.
Francesco, are there tools or software that you are using to promote and collect feedback?
Yeah. So internally, we have Office Vibe that we use. Okay. For qualitative feedback. We have multiple places. So Office Vibe is the space in which we are acquiring qualitative feedback in terms of, even anonymously a question from the team. And this is happening every week, really. A quite intense way of collecting even, really harsh question from the team. Then on quantitative information. So we have dedicated survey that we run every 2 weeks. This is Office Vibe. We're going to talk about a little bit about this circular feedback there. Then we have Slack, which we have a feedback, channel in which we are, adding all the feedback from all the clients about the team. So every single time that a specific client give feedback to a team, this feedback is put into the Slack channel, feedback channel, with a team tag, with everything that is happening. Maybe it's a screenshot of an email with a delivery piece. So it's really contextual. Then we have the HeyTaco channel, in which we're going to give feedback. Like, this is another quite important part, because our HeyTaco channel is really up to speed every single day. So it's the way that we have to give quite instant feedback to someone, right? Without just writing it into a personal space, something that will maybe nudge the activity of another. Because if you give a certain kind of a taco with every single time why you give the taco, contextualize, someone else can say, okay, oh, nice, you did that thing. Let's write down to this designer and ask, why did you do that? How did you do that? And send me over this piece of thing. So it started a conversation. So these 3 pieces are maybe the things that we have to collect feedback, and we collect then everything from client into Notion. So Notion is our knowledge base. So those are the channel that we use to gathering feedback.
Gotcha. You mentioned anonymous feedback, and I know there's always a constant debate around anonymous feedback. There's no accountability, right? So you can really say anything. What's been your experience with anonymous feedback, and any thoughts around it?
Yeah, we let the people give anonymous feedback, and they speak freely. It's not always easy to listen to this kind of feedback, because you can heard about something that is maybe pushing you into not a comfort zone. Still, I think anonymous feedback enables the team to really understand that they can set wherever they want. Still into a workspace, into something which is proactively towards value-generated feedback. I don't want to have a rant from teams member. So the thing that we do from, I think it was May. So every single month, I collect all the questions from Office Vibe, if there are maybe anonymous or from someone specifically, and I collect all those questions into a dedicated presentation. Then I record Looms video, like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then every single month I deliver this into Slack channel with all the reply of question. So every single time I do see a rant feedback, so not feedback that are easy for the people that are generating value, I always try to push people to give proactive feedback, because then please.
Let me understand this. So you answer questions via video and then post it for people to watch. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Every single question, Doug. Not a specific questions, right? Every single
Even the hard questions.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. The first one was into a collective meeting. So the first one was quite hot because I spoke for 60 minutes about question, just to show them that we care about question, right? So, and we keep everything anonymously. So maybe something that you said, maybe another one can talk about it and say, okay, I have everything planned. It's not easy to reply to question like openly, and sometimes you have to say, we're still working on it. You're not perfect. So you give something to us, maybe why the training course, they're not planned yet. So we're working on it. So we have this timeline. Those are maybe the deadline and this and that. So even question push us to work towards something specifically. Then if we find questions that are outside our scope, or maybe outside objective, this is the space in which we have to remark that an organization has specific objective. Okay, they're working towards maybe a margin or maybe specific market, maybe they're working towards specific capabilities or service. So this remind the people that the organization needs to live in some way. So it's not easy.
Sounds like doing it offline allows people time to think and allows you time to think and prepare the answer versus in real time, rapid fire, right? Sometimes you just have to think about, how do I want to answer this question? What is this person actually trying to understand? But that time in between allows everyone to be more thoughtful.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if, on the other side, you can reply directly into Office Vibe. Problem is, it will stay as a one-to-one conversation. Maybe the thing that I said is important for 10 other people. So that's why we say, okay, and this is always about rules of engagement. So we say, okay, we'll take 1 month. So bear with us. We're going to collect everything and we're going to reply all together. If it's really important, if it's urgent, we have Slack channel. Okay. If you have something in mind, write it to me. If there are open-ended questions, if there is something interesting, let's put in Office Vibe. So this is the kind of engagement. Yeah.
I love that a lot. It sounds like these types of practices are great for larger teams. What do you recommend for a smaller team? Like, I feel like with a smaller team, you don't need to solicit anonymous feedback and do all this. Any ideas for teams around 10 or under 20?
Yeah, we were 10 back in the days. And the nice thing is that you are so small that you have an open conversation with everyone, really, on project, on day-to-day. If you're working remotely, you may be working with others more frequently. The nice things of being small, that you can have a chat, you have a coffee, you have more plenary kind of, conversation. On that, I think feedback is not something that you can take on as an umbrella. I mean, you have to dilute it into small bits and pieces. Because I said in the beginning, even if you are like a team of 5 and you start pushing people to give a feedback on output, a feedback on activity, quite in context, after maybe a meeting, maybe after a brainstorming session, maybe after a workshop. After a workshop, when we were like 8, every single workshop that we went out, we asked for feedback to the others. Say, how was that? What do you think about it? Can I improve on something? Maybe you had a better idea about things. So even if you are small, after every single activity, putting in a context gives you the ability to grow a lot.
Yeah.
Did you start do you think your culture was the culture of feedback from the time you started and you had 10 people and it grew to where you are right now? Or was there a point in time where you weren't giving feedback to each other and you decided, you know what, we got to get better at it?
We always need to be better at it. We see, maybe it was last year, maybe a couple of years ago, that we really needed to have a more open-ended feedback. So we even find some, like some courses and training that can help people to give a better feedback. Every single year we run an unconference in Fifth Beat, like inviting people from the industry, the network. And we once was about even feedback, the importance of giving feedback on a safe space, because we know that people find it hard to give feedback. And even now, we're not, I said before, not perfect. So in the beginning was easier because you were all together. You can spot clearly what is happening if someone is upset or if someone is running on a perfect activity, if they need help, really. The more you grow, the more you need to have centralization of information. Because now we have managers since October. A manager run a competence center. A competence center, like a deep dive of strategy and business, design, discovery, and quality assurance. And the other one is development. So now we have middle manager. They do need to collect this feedback and give it to the entire C-level plan, even if we are not huge. Still, you have this certain amount of channels. So the more you grow, the more you create structure, the more you do need to put down rules of engagement. So that's why I was talking about this small activity. That's why into our appraisal system now we design really a 360 feedback loop with client, top down, bottom up, and even peer to peer, because you do need to collect feedback. This is a percentage of the appraisal for designer.
That's amazing. I feel like we can talk about feedback all day. I think, you and I both having a background in design, we know the importance of collecting feedback early and often. And this has been really great chatting about feedback with you, Francesca. I want to move into our little gratitude portion of the podcast where we talk about recognizing others. And as you know, with HeyTaco, everyone has 5 tacos to give each day. Who are you giving your 5 tacos to today and why?
Dedicated people, right? The other person.
It can be anyone.
Okay. Of course, I'm going to give the first one to Raffaele Boiano, which is the CEO of a company, to always give vision, strategy, other thoughts. We fight a lot, but in a good way. I mean, we generate a really nice conversation. The other one is for Francesco, which is another partner. He's always give to me other perspective. He came from a different background into the organization side. So he's always a different point of view in a good way. We are always aligned, but with different point of view. So we always be complementary. Vincenzo, other partner. So I want to give some partner tacos because he's the one that had more seniority in terms of growing teams. He grow a development team till 400 people. So he know how to grow. Even a different perspective, right? Developer, they have different mental models, different activity. Then Ivan, which is the CEO, is always runs smoothly in the back. So Ivan is the one that is not on a client, so he's not working on the project, but he's always there to help to put everything together, to link everything together, to run the operation of the company, to see all the budget, to run capacity. So he's the one that always have everything in place. So I have 4 one. So the last one is on a new hire. So the new one that will join the company. So we always try after the presentation of someone that is happening, maybe, even tomorrow morning, we are going to present 2 other people on the team. We always let people speak, right? About maybe personal background, thing they are good at. And if you want, you can give a tago to specific skill or to specific activity. So you can start, a conversation there, right? So you can break the ice, really. So I want to give a tago to the new hire.
I love that. That's a new one. I haven't heard that.
That's a creative use of a taco. That's great.
Even when someone left, we always give people tago to someone that is left the company.
Oh, wow.
Just to recognize the value every single time. Well, our taco channel is really on fire when someone, say hi to, it's a living drink. So we want to really say thanks to someone else.
Here's a taco.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, Francesco, thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your stories and insights.
Pleasure to be here.
Francesco, I feel like the hardest thing about what you're doing is that it's like fitness. You have to do it every day. There's never the end, right? Every day. It's about the practice of every single day. So
fail and learn.
Tacos to you for the work you're doing, because it's so intentional and it requires a lot of thought and a lot of patience. So thanks for sharing your insights with us.
Thanks for the conversation. A lot.
Thanks for listening. One of the important things about building a team is gratitude. If you're looking to add more gratitude into your team, check out HeyTaco.com. We are clearly biased, but it really does work. Use the code AMAZINGTEAMS to receive 15% off for the first 3 months of your subscription.